Welcome back, everybody, to the Sexy Business Podcast. I'm forever your host, Spooky Dangerous, and join with me, as always, is the lovely Lewd Neko. Say hello.
Hey everyone.
Now, normally on this show, we come in and we talk about really depressing stuff. We talk about the AI slop video game that made $1 billion on Steam. We talk about the new insane laws about how they're trying to ban pornography and how they're trying to murder everybody that we love and hold dear to us. And then sometimes we play a video game and talk about how it made us come. But this week, we're getting parasocial. We're going to let you get to know us a little better. We've done this once previously, if you don't include episode 1, the law episode, where we just kind of talked about stuff that was just kind of going on. And I think it's kind of important because a lot of the show we do is very beyond ourselves. Like, we're very often bringing on guests. We're very often talking about projects that we have nothing to do with, despite the fact that we have our own shit and we are working on stuff a lot and we are like really present with doing things, and we're not always kind of platforming ourselves, even though that's sort of the point here. But it's also kind of important, if you're a long-time viewer of the show, to kind of get to know us a bit beyond just our reactions to things. So that's why we're getting parasocial in this episode, and we're just going to kind of talk about what's been going on recently. And so I'm curious to know, Neko, what's been going on recently for you?
Oh my god, I'm so fucking busy. Every single year I tell myself the same thing and I'm like, "Oh, this is the year that I'm going to get more on top of my streaming. I'm going to have more time for that." And then the exact opposite happens. Hey everybody, did you know that getting a PhD is like hard or something and takes up all of your time and energy? Though I think mostly the biggest difference is that when I started streaming, it was like in the midst of the pandemic and I did not have many social connections or things that I like went to. And so I had a ton of time for streamings. And then unfortunately I went outside, I touched grass, made friends, and now I have like commitments to people where it's like, oh yeah, I need to actually hang out with folks and go to events and stuff like that, which is fun. But it has been kind of sad for me that I haven't been able to stream as much as I want. I mean, I haven't even had time really to play video games, which is also annoying. Like I think I've played like one or two games in like the past 2 months, like outside of the stuff that I've been doing for the stream, or for this podcast, and we occasionally have to play through games. So very, very busy. And then I had a fun little, I guess, update in my streaming world a couple weeks ago. So, if any of you are longtime Lewd Neko followers, you know that uploading VODs of my streams has always been a struggle. Now, normally, if you are just like a cam girl and you just want to upload videos of you jerking your shit, that's super easy. As long as you have a verified account, you can pretty much throw it up on whatever tube site that exists. However, as soon as you involve video games or other media, fictional content, it gets tricky, because for a lot of these tube sites, if a fictional game contains content that would be illegal if a real person did it, then the game is basically deemed banned or prohibited. This is, for example, why on Pornhub I believe there is almost no more furry content, because they consider that essentially bestiality, because it is an animal person thing in a sexy scenario. So, for the longest time, I've had issues with various websites. For example, X videos. I used to upload a lot of my stuff on there, and then they kind of changed a bunch of their policies like overnight. And we're like, oh, yeah, you have to go through and manually edit all of your videos and take this stuff down. And the really fun thing with these sites is they don't always even tell you what you did wrong. They'll just be like, you have prohibited content in this video. And you go, okay, what was the prohibited content? You have prohibited content. And it's like, well, I don't know what that is. And so I stopped using X videos because they were just running me all over the place trying to fix my videos. Similarly with Pornhub, most of my videos get taken down unless they are like extremely, extremely vanilla. Even for some games, if they like have words that could be misconstrued as something illegal, such as like the word baby, that can get like a video taken down. And then my two consistent ones so far have been ManyVids, which ManyVids I've been uploading most of my stuff there for a really long time. However, there are some VODs I can't upload. So, for example, we talked about You Kill Me Every Time a couple weeks ago, which is a very gory, non consensual game. And I don't upload that kind of stuff there because it is against their policies. So I can put like most of the furry stuff or some of the things that are like more like dubcon, but stuff where there's like a heavy amount of non-con violence or anything that's kind of sketchy like that, those ones have, as of right now, only exist on ePlay. And, that is not even a searchable website. So really, I had to create my own directory of links, like in my Discord server. And previously, I mostly included links to the ManyVids because that was my primary one. However, presumably due to all of the recent bullshit we have talked about, as far as, these 18 plus website laws and ID verification and what access minors can have to free things on the internet, ManyVids has recently rescinded their policy on free videos. So you used to be able to have free videos uploaded on ManyVids with NSFW content, and now you are no longer allowed to have free videos with NSFW. The only free videos allowed have to be safe for work. And I believe this is primarily due to the ID verification laws, since essentially the idea is, well, minors wouldn't have access to like payment methods for these videos, so that way it'll only go to adults. However, this meant that literally overnight, I woke up and all of my videos now cost like $2 or $3, and the cheapest that I could possibly package them was $40 a year for all of my videos, which relative to other, cam girls or performers and stuff like that is extremely cheap. Many of like the famous cam girls will charge like $20 per VOD. But the fact that I've always wanted to provide free videos, especially since I'm mostly here just to play video games, is really disappointing. The good news is ePlay has been really good at keeping in touch with me. We were experiencing some glitches with their website recently, and no joke, I reached out to the support, I explained my problem, and they had it fixed and even emailed me to let me know it was fixed within like 24 hours. So I will say ePlay's customer support is really awesome. But it does mean that I am like once again on the search for a website that will let me upload my like perfectly reasonable content without having to just do the method of like upload everything on like Mega and hope that they don't take your account down. So that's been me, or at least that's been like the streamer sides of things for me lately. How has your life been going so far, Spooky?
I think I'm similarly busy. I installed a new system for how I track stuff that I'm doing, in that I hung up a whiteboard in my office. And the whiteboard is about maybe 4 sheets of A4 paper, sitting side by side. And half of it is the 4 major projects that THM works on, Butt Sex Hotel, Shackles, and all that. And there's this tiny little palm card size space, which is the Sexy Business podcast, which is basically just like if we have a guest coming up or something, or like we have a game VOD or something that I need to watch or play. And then a full half of the board is one of the projects that I'm working on for my day job, because I don't just run THM, I also have another different video game company that instead of it just being me in charge, I have a co-lead, and we don't work on NSFW games, we work on like normal wholesome shit. And it's complicated. It has just so much shit going on. It's filled from top to bottom on the half of the whiteboard that it is with shit for me to do. But it's also how I track what all the different artists I have that are working on, of which I have 7 currently working on things. If you also include Sarissa, the animator that works with THM. So it's always like, okay, is this person's name written next to a task? No. Okay, I need to message that person to make sure that they're doing some shit. So it's kind of a lot going on, honestly. And a lot of it is I can't do this until I have this thing back from someone. Like I can't work on the Shackles update until I get something back from Miggy. And with all of the THM stuff, you'll notice THM has like literally never missed an update. It's never been delayed. We've posted an update early once, and that's because I was traveling interstate. And like we've literally never missed in the 3 years that we've been running otherwise. So the artists that I work with are really good. We don't fuck around. Everything's like pretty well planned in advance. Blackout, for example, whenever I give him a job, it's kind of the first thing he works on, and then he'll let me know in advance if he needs time to work on other things, and I'll be like, look, we have the update done, that's fine, take the time. Whereas Mickey does the opposite. Mickey knows that when the deadline is, how much work it'll take, and then they'll try and cram as many other commissions in that time and then do it towards the end. But again, has never missed, so I trust my gang. In my day job where I'm working on other stuff, I have 2 artists that are paid for a job that have left me on red for 40 days.
Ooh.
And it's just like, okay, I guess that project is just not going anywhere in a hurry, I suppose. Which is kind of brutal, like, for morale, because you're like, I'm excited to be working on this thing, but then it's just 40 days of no progress, so I'm stuck waiting for people. And I also ordered a piece of marketing materials, like a playmat, so that when I'm showcasing this thing in person, it's got like the logo and the characters and all that kind of shit on it. I got it from Inked Playmats. Fuck you, this is not a promo, I'm putting you on blast. Inked Playmats has been good to me in the past. I ordered it on the 1st of September. They shipped it on the 29th of September. It's now the 21st of October when we're recording this, and it has not left the United States. It's just been sitting at this shipping place for a whole month and still isn't even in my country yet. So, and like that's for that same project. So basically that project's just dead. It's just waiting for a miracle to bring it back to life. Which is, you know, it's one of my side things, so it's not a big deal. It doesn't get in my way a lot, but it's like so different, right? Like THM deals with these problems where it's like Steam just suddenly decides that I should be dead and Gaben shows up at my house with a sword and that's it for me, right? Whereas when I'm working on more legit projects that, you know, garner more respect from the average person, like my grandparents go, hey, that's a cool thing you've made. And then I just have to experience a whole different fucking level of problems and roadblocks. Every horny artist I work with is just so excited to work on projects. They just love being employed. Every artist that I work with for every other kind of thing, they're just like, look, I just got a new drum set, so I don't know if you'll hear from me for a couple of weeks or something. I'm like, what? You fucking committed to this thing. What are you talking about? So it's hard. I currently work about 70 hours a week. And that's just because I have so much shit that I need to be juggling. I need to be like super accessible for when people message me, ask me questions about things. And I just have a lot of grunt work. And because the project that I mentioned that has the really long to-do list, it's all coding. It's all designing mini games and it's all building out stuff. So I just get really exhausted for doing that when it comes to THM stuff. And I think THM has suffered a little bit because of it. That's why the fish mini game is like notoriously dog shit. That's why Grand Butt Sex Hotel has become a little bit more linear than we originally planned, where it was going to have the same rotating day style that Cufflinks and Cages did, but people kind of complained about that, and I was like, well, I'm okay if this, you know, doesn't really get added as much as that, and so instead it's got like a detour system where every now and again you're following along a main plot line, but you'll be given offers to detour and do like capsule experience and then come back to the main plot line, which is kind of just like, oh, I'm gonna go on a regular dating sim kind of thing. Is like I go on a date with this person, but then still like the continuity is unchanged. It's just who you've gone on a date with affects your stats or whatever. That's kind of the vibe we're going for. Every now and again, there's a meal service where you'll pick someone to go and deliver a meal to that has its own cute little short scene. And then a thing that we haven't started yet is that soon you'll have access to the elevator yourself. This will be after all the characters are introduced. And we have a new character being introduced soon, Maeve, who I'll talk about in a second. You would go to the elevator and then you would click a floor, which each, you know, of the guests has their own floor, and then you would go and spend time with them, and that would be a specific scene. And then every time you have access to the elevator, you're unlocking a new scene with that character. So you would be progressing along with one person or getting a tasting platter from everyone, and then you're still continuing along the main continuity, which I think works fine. And then Maeve, who is our newest character, she's kind of like an office where exhausted executive yandere kind of character, where she's like, you are my property and no one else should get to spend time with you because you're mine. You're my footstool. I'm not going to lend out my footstool to other people. Kind of a thing. I'm really excited to see how Marcy takes that one. And we've got plans for 2 more characters after that. And, you know, getting a new set of character expressions is very expensive, so it will take a little while before we do see everyone. And I don't know if we'll get elevator stuff by the time we see everyone. It'll probably be before then. But I wanted to have more than 2 guests introduced before we were, you know, getting an opportunity to choose who we're spending time with. Because if there's just one person, it's not really a choice. It's just going and doing their thing. So that's kind of where we're at. Because Grand Buttsex Hotel is new, it's probably the one that has the most focus and the most space. So I've actually had, from middle of September, we had September, October, November, December planned out. We now also have January planned out. Marcy and I did like a full debrief of what we want the next couple of updates to be, so that I could handle the budget a bit better, and also because of when we would have the new Maeve expression so she could be introduced. Whereas all the other projects is really loose. I have 1 line of text for Shackles, which is just the latest piece of art I'm waiting on from Miggy. Creature of Casterfield is in a slow spot at the moment, because we've just done this huge rush to get to the IO release and show off a whole bunch of stuff, get the showcase started. But then we're going to be focusing all on minutia stuff rather than character stuff, so that Blackout can be going and working on Grand Buttsex Hotel and Sleep Shock, and they can kind of catch up a little bit. But everything's a lot. Everything is everything. There's a lot happening. And also, there was like a new Pokemon game that came out that I've played a little bit, and I posted some pictures on Twitter for. So maybe we can circle back to that at the end. But Neko, you told me your deepest, darkest secret earlier, and I figured I'd put you on blast here for a second.
Wait, what was it that I said earlier? I say so many things.
This was my really funny segue where you know the thing that I was going to, like, because you said you wanted to talk about it, but because I introduced it in such a way that you don't know what I'm talking about, that's just really funny for the audience. You got up to something recently. It's incredibly embarrassing, and I want you to talk about it. Do you want to walk us through what happened?
Yeah, I went to a kink convention for sex havers.
Oh my god, sex haver confirmed. Cringe.
I've actually been going to this convention for about a year now. It's held like twice a year, and it's really fun. So when I say kink convention, it's very small. It's only like a couple hundred people, and it's a mix of education where there's a ton of like classes on like how to do certain things, vendors, and then at night we basically get to make the space into a dungeon. So there's a bunch of dungeon equipment and various rooms for various kinds of kinks and things like that. And I actually ended up getting to do 2 really fun scenes this time. So I have one person right now who I would kind of call like a queer platonic partner, for those who know what that means. If not, just think of it as girlfriend. And recently we have been exploring pegging. So I have been putting things in people's butts again. I've done pegging before, a couple of times, like years ago. I didn't have any consistent partners who were into it though, so it really only happened like once or twice, and it was fun. And then I didn't do it for years. And then this current partner is really into it. They've bottomed for stuff like that before. It's just been a while. So we've been experimenting with it recently, and we finally got to do it in like the context of a scene. It was basically kind of like a bullying, objectification sort of scene. And it was also I've been using a new harness. I'm using the rodeo harness, rodeo with an H at the end, which for those of you who are looking for an alternative to sort of the typical pegging harness, the really strappy ones that have all of the like buckles and things like that. The rodeo harness is basically just a pair of briefs that has a harness or an O-ring built into it. So it is super easy to just slide things in and out and to just put on and take off. So it's much better for like more like casual or like comfortable forms of play. The one downside is that the O-rings are not swappable. So if you have very big toys or toys that have weird shapes, they might not fit. But for most standard stuff, it's really great. I got this harness recommended at a pegging class at a furry convention like 3 years ago, and I finally got to buy one and use it. And I agree with their assessment that it is probably one of the better harnesses out there. I also got to do a really fun scene where I got to impact top for a very heavy bottom. And by heavy bottom, I mean someone who can take a lot of pain. I have been doing some impact, over the past year or two. It's one of my most consistent kinks, but most of the bottoms I've been playing with are kind of like more like soft to medium, so they can't take much, and I respect that. But this bottom, I laid out all of my toys, and I was like, "Just put away anything you do not want me to use." And he looked at them and went, "That looks fine." And I was like, "Are you sure?" Um, and so that was a lot of fun. We had quite a crowd because we had also done we had sort of done this in the context of a scene. So basically, we were both maids, and I was sort of like the head maid, and they were like the slutty new maid that got in trouble for flirting with someone in the town and getting caught. And so I got to basically just punish them, and they were very funny. They were saying like hilarious shit the entire time to sort of goad me on, and so that was a lot of fun. I'm just extremely tired though, because I was up till like 2 a.m. most of the nights, and then I have to get up pretty early in the morning. And then for those of you who have done any form of kink, you might be familiar with the idea of drop, which is very similar to like post-con depression, if you've ever heard of that. It is just the contrast of like really high endorphins and adrenaline and all that good stuff, and then the Mondays, basically. You go back to work, you go back to school, and everything is back to normal. And during most weeks, you wouldn't really notice that, but when you had such a fun weekend, the contrast can actually be like physically or like mentally distressing. Like people get really tired, they get headaches, they feel sore, they can feel really sad, things like that. Which is evidence of that. I slept in until like 11 today, and then I like got a little bit done and went to class. And then, no joke, I was setting up for the podcast, and I was like, I'm so tired. I think I'm gonna fall asleep after this.
EP
Very much worth
baby.
it though. I know I am afflicted with the EP. What about you, Spooky? Anything fun or sexy in your life?
Well, I have also actually recently been to a kink convention. We have Sexpo here in Sydney. Now, I reached out to the organizers because I was interested in perhaps getting a booth for THM, which would have been kind of sick. And basically, throughout the negotiation of it, it was going to be pretty expensive. Like it's a couple $1,000s to get a real booth. And also, I would need to pick up some tech as well, like a laptop or TV screens kind of stuff to really kind of show off the product. And it was a big investment for a convention I'd never been to before, and I wasn't really sure if I could be confident about getting it all back. So I was like, you know what, I would just go as a civilian. I'll go and check it out. I had some friends that I knew that was going. I have a long-term friend that I've been playing board games with, and she was like, hell yeah, I'm super keen. And then she brought a partner. I'd never met this guy before, and you're gonna hear some funny stories about him in a minute. So don't pause the video, I guess. And so my whole intention was I'm gonna go along. I'm gonna hang out. I'm also gonna just meet the organizer, so I can kind of hey, I'm the guy, kind of a thing. And so we go, and it's not huge. If you're familiar, if you're a Sydney local, if you're familiar with the ICC, it has many kind of halls and can expand to be quite big. And so it was really only a small portion of it, but they still had kind of a lot of stuff there. There was like a long row of stalls that was like single creators, like an only fans girl could have like pictures of herself up, or like a meet and greet kind of area. And I met a couple local creators, including some dominatrixes, which is really funny because I get to be like, hi, I'm also a dominatrix. I make like femdom content online for people, which is really funny. So I get to bond over common interests and stuff. And they had this gigantic stage area. And look, my really main critique was that they just had a horrible sound profile for the entire place, where because the stage area was above all of the partitions, there was no place in the entire hall where you could not hear the stage area. And I think that was intended because they wanted people to come to the stage when they had this big thing on, but like if I don't give a shit what it is, I'm now suffering because of that. And that's kind of my main complaint. If I'm standing here trying to sell stuff to people and they can't hear me, or they're struggling against this thing, it's going to make it really hard and just kind of exhausting being there in general. But what ended up happening was we spent a lot of time in there was 2 different strip lounges, a male and female strip lounge. And girl's best friend, he was like, I want to go and check out the strip lounge. I'm like, okay, sure. And he's like, have you done this before? I'm like, no, I don't know. I'm autistic. I don't leave the house. I have not been to a strip club before. He's like, great. He grabs me. He goes, we're sitting in the front row. I'm getting you a lap dance. I'm like, fucking all right. And one of the girls that was performing there was someone that I follow on Facebook or some shit. So I was like, oh, I know this person. And so there's a couple different performers that came around. They're kind of doing stuff. And I don't know if this really communicates just how autistic or just how fucking numbed I am to everything because I work in the industry. But the thing that stood out to me the most was that the DJ was just fucking dropping banger after banger the entire time. And that was the highlight of the strip area. But what was really funny was that all the ladies that come up and do their bit, it's just crowd work, right? Like the same way that a comedian does crowd work. They're singling out people that they recognize have the dollars, or you'll, wave your shit around and they'll come over and they'll, like a kitten rubbing up against your leg, they'll come and hang out. And then afterwards, we went over to the male strip area because she's like, I want to go. I'm like, yeah, man, what do I care? These guys probably look fucking fit as hell. I want to see what's going on. And they're doing the same thing, but they're doing it very differently. They're picking people up. They're carrying people around. They're tying people to chairs. They're just being super athletic about everything they do. Everything's like this big dance performance, whereas the ladies were much more chill and come and interact with me. The guys were like, this is the show. We are doing it here, and you are maybe part of it if you're lucky, kind of a thing. Like the vibe is very different, which was kind of cool. And for me, I'm not I'm like really pansexual, but just like for every person that I encounter, I'm like, what is the thing that makes them special? That's like how I become attracted to people. And seeing a lot of these guys, I'm like, wow, yeah, I see that you spend a lot of the time in the gym. And then it's like always the things that I find are really impressive. Like, oh, wow, this guy did this cool thing or whatever. Or like this girl's act was really impressive. Or the fact that there was one pair of strippers that came out together and they were like working together to do stuff. They were like clearly besties, which was really cool and stuff like that. And then afterwards we went to because there was the Sexpo specific strip lounges, but then there was also like a sponsored gentleman's club thing, which was like a strip club in the area I'd never heard of, obviously, had their own space, and we went and checked that out afterwards. And Bestie went and was like, I'm going to get a whole bunch of private dances. You can just hang out here in there's like a greeting lounge area thing. I'm like, all right, I'll sit down. I love sitting down. Sitting down's my favorite thing. And so the girls would come and talk to me like, hey, you want to spend money, right? I'm like, no, I'm just chilling, because bro's getting his minutes on. And so we're just like casually talking about stuff. And it was really funny because one of the girls there in heels was the same height as me. And I'm 6'5", I'm quite tall. And so I'm like, is it weird to have someone that can look you in the eyes like this? And she's like, no, I'm kind of used to it, actually. I'm already like 5'10". And so, yeah, that's kind of my problem. I always end up at the sex event just like running bits or like paying attention to other shit or like talking to people about Dungeons and Dragons. I don't even fucking play Dungeons and Dragons. I always find someone to talk to about Dungeons and Dragons. I say that I work in games and like, oh yeah, did you roll D20s? I'm like, what the fuck? And it just kind of keeps happening to me, I guess. So yeah, I used to go to like kink events quite a lot. Now I'm a lot more reclusive because I just have too much work and shit to do. And look, internet pornography is not going anywhere. It'll always be there for me. So it's a bit harder to go to the function, But it is interesting, and to answer your question, it's probably unlikely that THM will have a physical booth anytime in the future. It's just really difficult because it's not at my house, but also it requires a lot of tech and prep, and I need to like have people come on and help work it with me, and I can't get other people that work at THM because there's really only one or two other people that are even on this hemisphere, which makes it a bit hard. So telling my friends, go, okay, yes, I need you to come over and help me run the big girl cock femdom chastity video game stall. I work with a printer that knows that I work on game projects and stuff, and I had to explain to them. I'm like, hey, look, I might need to get promo stuff done for Sexpo. How weird will it be between us? I've known you for years, but will it become weird if I have to get a whole bunch of this stuff, big girl cock kind of art printed? They're like, bro, it's fine. Don't worry about it. I had to like subtly imply that it was a job I was hired to do for somebody else, just in case, you know. But yeah, that's kind of what the day to day life is like, right? Like, sexy stuff is always just kind of a, if you're lucky and if it's happening, you can maybe go there and do the thing. And it's not always easy to have it be happening, and it can be exhausting. And oftentimes, like you said, a PhD is a lot of work. A lot of the day job shit can just get in the way, which is less sexy. On a scale of 1 to 10, how sexy is a PhD? I mean, not having one, I mean doing one.
I mean, I guess if you're an extreme masochist and you really like feeling stressed all the time and pressured and like an imposter, then it's a great, extremely kinky time.
Don't educate me, I'll come. Well, that's actually kind of our time. I hope that these fun anecdotes about our lives enriched and interest you. I just hope you've fallen in love with both of us. That was the plan all along, actually.
Yeah.
I want you to think we're both very sexy and fun, both mum and dad here. After we've talked to you about your feet addiction, we've introduced you to a whole bunch of video games. We've done so much here as your supportive parents. It's only fair that you should listen to your mother and click all the buttons that she tells you to.
Let's see. You listened to us talk about our personal lives and bitch about work and also not bitch about fun kinky stuff. So you should hit the subscribe button. So that way you can get more updates on all of the other videos we'll be doing, such as interviews. We talk about games. Sometimes we talk about depressing stuff. Sometimes we just talk about feet or random fetishes. And be sure to hit that little bell because usually our videos do not end up in people's like recommendations or feeds or subscriptions and things like that. So getting the notifications will make sure that you actually get notified when our content is out. And you can also feel free to leave us a comment down below. What's been going on in your life? Have you been playing any cool games lately? We also always appreciate suggestions for future topics, whether that's a game you've been playing recently that you want us to check out. It could even be a creator that you think we should ask about doing an interview with, or even just a kind of general topic or fetish you think would be fun to hear us cover. Feel free to leave that kind of feedback because we do read the comments and we have taken them into consideration before. And also hit the like button because you like us. You love us, actually, but there's no love button on YouTube, so you are only allowed to like us here. And stay tuned for next week. We're going to have another fun and sexy video for you. So we hope to see you then on the Sexy Business Podcast. Bye,
Bye
everyone.
bye.